Welcome to the Bumpaholics Podcast. The Bumpaholics Podcast serves our community by providing education on fertility, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, lactation, and parenthood. The overall mission is to support expecting parents so they can be more well-rounded and empowered to make informed parental decisions in their journey through parenthood. Now sit back, listen in, and join us for today's episode of Boob Talk. Welcome to Boob Talk with Bumpaholics, where we talk about all things breastfeeding. So thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Hi. Today we're going to talk about COVID-19 and breastfeeding. We'll go over some facts and some places where you can find some additional information. So I'm Brittany. I have a BS in health education, and I'm a certified birth doula through Stillbirth Day.
My name is Kristen Mason. I am a certified doula through Babomia and a childbirth educator through Milestones Midwifery.
All right. So one of the first questions that's out there is, does breast milk spread the virus?
According to research at the moment, no. So what they're finding is that breast milk is actually really good for helping baby to fight the virus if they do get exposed to it. They are finding antibodies in mama's milk that the person has been exposed to COVID-19, which is just amazing. They're actually finding it's one of the best ways to keep your child safe from COVID-19.
Which is actually right in line with other illnesses, such as the flu. You know, you're not meant to stop breastfeeding just because you or your child is sick. It's the same concept with COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're creating those antibodies, and you need to give those antibodies to your baby through your breast milk. And it's really the main source of nutrition for your child too. So by stopping breastfeeding, what are you going to feed your baby? You'd have to go to formula, which it's not bad, but it also doesn't have anywhere near the amount of antibodies, fats, lipids, or just nutrients that your baby needs to grow. One of the quotes by the CDC is, current evidence suggests that breast milk isn't likely to spread the virus to babies. And the WHO does support this as well.
Yes, absolutely. And keeping in mind that, of course, with all things COVID, all of the research is in its infancy because COVID is still considered new.
Right.
So as much research that they can put into it, it's been really great. They're actually still putting out calls for women who have been exposed to COVID-19 who are currently producing milk. To actually send in milk to be analyzed, which is just incredible. Being able to follow that research has been so amazing, and it's really in depth, and just you can even just look at it and see the color difference when somebody who has pumped previously and that milk is white, and then they're pumping when they have been exposed to COVID-19, and it is the most yellow milk that I have ever seen. Which is, that those antibodies in the milk.
Right. And it does get yellow with other illnesses as well.
Absolutely.
Again, it's those antibodies in the milk. It doesn't mean that the milk is bad. It doesn't mean it's sour.
Really good.
Yeah, it's really good for your milk to have those antibodies in it. So if I get sick or if my baby gets sick, what are some things that we can do to not spread the illness if one or the other of us is sick?
So the CDC puts out some recommendations that are extremely similar to recommendations that they put for any human being who has been exposed to COVID-19, which of course is going to be to quarantine. So if you are breastfeeding, then, bringing the child into quarantine with you. Some people are choosing to quarantine themselves and then keeping baby separate and then pumping to feed baby. And then they do have guidelines that go along with the actual breastfeeding and pumping. Some of which are aligned with some of which actually aren't, which is interesting when those don't line up exactly. The CDC has much stricter guidelines on what they're wanting you to do, such as wearing a mask while breastfeeding, which I could see how that could be, especially if you're very early in your breastfeeding journey and baby needs to kind of see your face, how that could then complicate matters. But they also recommend that you wear a mask while pumping, which the WHO doesn't necessarily recommend. They didn't say not to, but they didn't necessarily see a reason to wear a mask while pumping.
I could kind of see this as, feasible, simply because, you're breathing anyway.
Absolutely.
But with a mask on, your peripheral vision for the lower half of your body, it's severely lacking and limited, which means if you look down, you're not really going to be able to see the milk that's filling the bottles.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, especially if you're
really needed, if the milk is fully contained in a sterile container. I could see maybe wearing the mask as you're transferring the milk to a storage bag, which you don't necessarily need to do. You can actually freeze it in the bottles right there. And you can put them right in the fridge inside the bottle. So you don't technically even have to touch the milk.
Right.
Once it's been expressed.
Yeah. So, and obviously we're not going to speak about, the validity of the CDC, but we are finding it interesting, the differences between CDC recommendations and WHO recommendations. Anytime that the medical experts start disagreeing, then there is a discussion to be had to kind of figure out exactly what fits for you.
Right.
And if you are, say, a working mother who's working from home and trying to pump and work on your computer at the same time and while wearing a mask, we could see how that could be complicated. And who doesn't necessarily have that in their recommendations.
Right. Well, and keep in mind, too, with breastfeeding, that relationship and that bond, the baby gets a lot out of seeing your face. They're getting that eye contact, they're getting colors, they're getting textures, they're getting the knowledge, and they're feeling that love and support that you're providing them through the breastfeeding. That's not to say that they're not going to get those things with a mask on either. Because they can still see your eyes, they can still see color, they can still see your expressions, and you can be just as expressive with your eyes as you can with your mouth. So, it's up to you on if you want to wear a mask while pumping or breastfeeding. That's the great thing about following those recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, hand washing, social distancing, which kind of goes right along with, if you're quarantining, you're social distancing, but that was in there twice. And then maybe limiting visitors that are coming in person, meeting with people virtually if they want to see baby, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then, once you've expressed your milk into a container, if you're pumping, sanitize that container. So you're going to transfer the milk out of the container. You're going to fully wash with soap and water all of your pump gear, not the cord, the tube that goes from the device, your pump, to your flange. But you're going to pump. You're going to wash the flange, all parts of your pumping gear. And then you're going to sanitize them. So you're either going to put them through the dishwasher, which isn't always recommended unless it specifically says in your gear that you can dishwash it, or you can boil it in a pot of water. You can even get some of those sanitization bags and stick it in the microwave to sanitize it.
Those are amazing.
Yeah, those are really awesome. So a supporting quote from the CDC, which is one that I really love. Breast milk is the best source of nutrition for most infants, and it provides protection against many illnesses.
Yeah, it does.
It's very accurate and to the point for breast milk and COVID. Absolutely. So where are some resources that we can learn some more information about COVID-19 and breastfeeding specifically?
So I'm always going to recommend La Leche League. You can get on lalecheleague.org and you can meet with them in person. They are an amazing resource for anybody who is at any stage of their breastfeeding journey. They have amazing literature that you can read, and then they have a very easy to navigate website, and they actually work out of the United States and the UK. So that's always going to be my online or group meeting recommendation. They have a Kansas City chapter, so if you search La Leche League Kansas City, you will get the Kansas City chapter, and you can learn when the next meetup is. KellyMom.com is another great resource that you can look at. They, again, have a full page about COVID. You can search Kelly Mom and COVID, and you'll get a full page full of various articles regarding breastfeeding and COVID-19. And then, Dr. Jack Newman, he is a very well-known IBCLC, and his website is ibconline.ca. So he's Canadian. Okay. Yeah, but he's a fantastic resource. I love all of his information.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what about a local person? So we, of course, would recommend Jen Sawiski because...
Suzuki.
Sorry, Jen. No one pronounces your name correctly.
No.
No, she is amazing. She is also by IBCLC, and she has done amazing work for our clients. She is still happy to meet with you in person if you would like to do so, or she can meet with you virtually if you're more comfortable with that.
Yeah. So the World Health Organization says that mothers and babies form an inseparable biological and social unit.
Mm-hmm.
The team and nutrition of one group cannot be divorced from the health and nutrition of the other. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And it's very, very true. And, you know, this is a time of great challenge, but we are resilient people and we have amazing resources, and this community is just so fantastic. And if you are experiencing any difficulty or worries or anxiety about your breastfeeding journey and COVID-19, then we highly encourage you to reach out and tap into those resources.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of hard decisions that we have to make as mothers, and COVID definitely complicates those decisions. You know, making sure that you're well informed of what your options are, and knowing that, you know, we have some recommendations out there, you can follow them, but it's also your choice not to follow them. It's your choice on what you want to do to make sure that you and your child are healthy, and what those recommendations, making sure that they work for you and your family. Anyway, we do have, I don't remember the announcements. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with us today. We hope you've enjoyed Boob Talk with Bumpaholics, and that you got some good information from us. If you have any questions or suggestions, we'd love to hear them. You can submit your questions to be answered on future episodes of Bumpaholics at Patreon.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for hanging out with us. We loved having you here. Don't forget to hit that like button because you know we deserve it. Leave a comment to let us know why. Your participation and constructive feedback helps us grow and shapes our community that you can be a part of. Be sure to follow us on all of our socials so you can stay in the loop for upcoming videos, live events, fundraisers, and Patreon goodies. Goodbye for now. We'll see you soon.